Our current systems see you as human capital, and when you realize that, everything changes.
Human labor is largely redundant in this world that they are imagining. It hasn't yet been fully implemented, but the world they are imagining, human beings are largely redundant. They're going to figure out a way in which to either get rid of us or manage us in a way that continues to get as much money out of us as they can until they throw us away.
Now, if you look at human capital, every step of the way, you're in a contract of exchanging your human energy to be able to live, right? If you look at the movie The Matrix, they boiled it down to a battery. That visual of a battery was really cool because it allowed people to intuitively understand the energy control that a few have over us. You can say it was a movie. I say it was a documentary. Of course, if you go back to, like, let's say, tribal days, and you had to do it all yourself, then, you did it all yourself. But then slowly people came to agree, okay, I'll take care of security, you take care of these other things. And we all had our different parts, and we agreed to relinquish control of security, let's say, to other people because you're going to take the other parts. As society gets larger and larger, it gets more and more complicated. But it seems like we've relinquished control so far that at this point, we are just capital. Instead of being an equal agreement, now it's become one of exchange where we are the capital. We are what's being controlled. So it's gone too far. Freedom comes from breaking this contract that was created before you were even born. And individually, you can do this. You can actually end that contract, and people have done it. But the thing of it is, right now, I see it as we're ending that contract collectively so that not individually, but collectively, we can be free. And by doing it collectively, we end this system that has most of us under control by a very, very, very small minority. When all these clues are put out there, it's done in such a way that it promotes an awakening. People realize things aren't the way they're shown, and they connect the dots to different things. And when they do that, they start to awaken to these different ideas. But I think part of awakening isn't just realizing, but having intentional active participation. Once you awaken, you actively participate. And I think at the very least, active participation is being conscious about your energy level. You have that energy that they have control of. Their currency of control is through fear and money. Money is how they've controlled the system, and fear is how they've kept that control going. So by controlling money and where it comes from, they're able to control you. And the control of energy is with fear and hatred. And that's the lowest vibration. Your energy levels, of course, your lowest can be fear, hatred, and the highest are towards love. Now, you're going to these different levels all the time. Unconsciously, you're going there. But what happens when you awaken, I think, is that you recognize intentionally going to different levels. And when you intentionally go to certain levels, like to a love vibration, then you're helping us collectively remove all of those bad elements. Okay, but it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to practice it. Even the cat can piss you off, right? The dog can piss you off. Any number of things can just have you go to this lower vibration. And the more that those elements are kind of thrown at you, the more they keep you at that lower level, the more control they have over you. You're much more easily manipulated in that lower state. So the idea is to consciously stay at these higher levels. And in that sense, you are beyond control. And the more people that do this, the better off we're going to be. As I see it, that's just a basic level. Get into that love vibration and stay there. You're not always going to be at that level, right? And you don't have to get uptight about always having to be there. But the more you consciously let go of some of these negative elements, not watching programs that get you in that lower state. You're not going to ignore things that are important to take care of. But what you are saying is intentionally saying, that TV show, or let's say that movie I was going to watch, it puts me in this state. Do I really want to go into that state? By saying no, you've made a choice to consciously move into that other state. The more you make those choices, the better off you'll be. The immediate choices after watching that are reflective of what you just watched. You will put yourself into that state. It just happens. It's part of the programming that goes on. But the flip side is also true. When you go into a state of love and you see a movie that reflects that, the decisions that you make afterwards are also reflective of that. It's not rocket science. It's not woo-woo. It's very basic. It's just a basic understanding of how these dynamics work, right? This is very, straightforward and obvious. Even if it is straightforward and obvious, it's being conscious of it. And that's the hardest thing to do, because we all get into different habits. You get annoyed. It's so easy to just get triggered, right? Everybody gets triggered. So it's so easy to get there. So why do I mention this? Because it's the energy. It's the energy that you put out. And the more you move towards the higher vibrations, the more you're going to be moving away from their control. And the decisions that you make, again, will be different on a small level and on a larger level. Some people will be offended by this, but just go through the explanation. At the other end of it, you'll understand, and I don't think you'll be offended. So, at its very basic level, FU money is really enough money to walk away from anything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, you have enough money to just walk away from it. Where you live, all the choices you make. You have what people term FU money, okay? Now, here's the key, though. It's to have FU money without the money. Now, hear me out on this. The idea is that you can walk away from anything because you have this tool called money. But what if you have that mindset that you can walk away without having the money? And for some, you'll be like, what are you talking about? That's impossible. It actually is possible. There are fears you can have. And if you go to the end of your fears, they're often more in the mind than they are in reality. Okay. And in that sense, you can pretty much walk away from anything. And Tim Ferriss and some others have talked about this in various ways. And really, you have the fear of death. Eventually, you're going to die anyway, right? You could have the fear of going hungry. You could have the fear of not having a home. You could have the fear of whatever it might be. From my perspective, I see loneliness and death being the top fears. People, you can put people in isolation, and that's one of the worst things you can do. When people are isolated, they go crazy. I mean, it just happens. That's why one of the things that they do in prison is they put you in an isolation chamber, and it's like one of the worst things. So in some cases, there are some things and experiences that are worse than death, and isolation can be one of them. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to get into the state of FU money without the money, but I am saying that it can be done. And the more you are able to get to that place where you can do that, the more freedom you'll have. So I'm going to put this together, and hopefully it'll make sense. But those are just some thoughts on the whole situation. I think there's active participation that needs to be there. It's not just awakening, but actively participating, even if it's just at an energetic level, keeping your vibration higher rather than lower. And in that sense, keeping a core of and getting closer to that mindset of being able to walk away from pretty much anything, which obviously is hard to do. But the more independent systems you have, the better off you'll be, and the more choices you'll have.